Jewish believer, realize they're grafted in, just like you. Why? God's not a respecter of persons. And so, the process of grafting is called a scion, or you could pronounce it Zion. Scion, spelled S-C rather than Z-I-O-N, according to the Wikipedia Encyclopedia, is the definition of it is grafting where the zion is a detached shoot or twig containing buds from a woody plant. What is grafting? Grafting is a method of plant propagation widely used in horticulture where the tissues of one plant are encouraged to fuse with those of another. Grafting can only be done between reasonably closely related plants. In most cases, one plant is selected for its root. Who's the root? Yeshua the Messiah. And this is called the stock. He's of the root of Jesse. Isaiah 11. The other plant is selected for the stems, leaves, or flowers, and it's called the Zion. And who is selected as the branches? I am the vine, you are the branches. It is those who believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. Believers in Yeshua as the Messiah in traditional Christianity realize that when Yeshua died on the tree, He brought about a new covenant. But what they don't realize is that this new covenant was only made with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Jeremiah 31:31. Behold, the days come, says the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, which is repeated in Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8, as it is written, for finding fault with them. I want you to notice who the God of Israel found fault with. Them. You know how it's preached in traditional Christianity? That He found fault with the law. The problem was the law, so He did away with the law. It doesn't say here that He found fault with the law. He found fault with them. What's the them that He found fault with? The hearts of the people. He found fault with their hearts, so He had to change their hearts by giving them a new heart through a renewed covenant. I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Romans 11, Paul is describing who ultimately are believers in Yeshua as the Messiah, and it's also described as being an olive tree, but because it's believers in Yeshua as the Messiah and His redemptive work, it's the redeemed house of Jacob, consisting of two branches, the redeemed house of Israel and the redeemed house of Judah. A Jewish believer, their branch of the family of Messiah is the house of Judah. A non-Jewish believer in Yeshua's Messiah is a part of the branch of the redeemed house of Israel. Which begs the question, who are the redeemed house of Israel, or non-Jews, or those that make up the non-Jewish part of the family of Yeshua as the Messiah? The prophecy is that the literal physical descendants of the northern kingdom would become believers in Him. So because that prophecy has to be true, that means there has to be non-Jewish believers in Yeshua as the Messiah who are descended from the northern kingdom. But is every non-Jewish believer in Yeshua as Messiah descended from the northern kingdom? No. So therefore, non-Jewish believers in Yeshua as Messiah consist of those who are descended from the northern kingdom and those who are not. So would each non-Jewish believer in Yeshua as Messiah know if they are physically from the northern kingdom or from the general nations? They would not, because you can't trace your genealogy back that far and prove it. So you wouldn't know. But does it make a difference? Well, as it pertains to being a part of Messiah's kingdom, no, it doesn't make a difference. But why doesn't it make a difference? Because the family of Messiah is a congregation of firstborn, which is not based upon genealogy. You don't get into Messiah's kingdom because who your parents are. You get into His kingdom because you're a believer in Him. So 1 Chronicles chapter 5 verse 1 says, the birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, the sons of Israel, and genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright. And so believers in Yeshua as the Messiah, Hebrews chapter 12 verse 22, called the people of Zion or Mount Zion, they are called a church or a congregation of firstborn. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 23. So we have a literal house of Jacob and a redeemed house of Jacob. Does the literal house of Jacob believe that Yeshua is the Messiah? Well, some do. I know Jewish believers in Yeshua as Messiah, but most Jews don't believe that Yeshua is the Messiah. Well, what about those who believe that Yeshua is the Messiah? Do they believe that they should follow Torah? Well, some do. Those that do, we call the Messianic movement or the Hebraic roots of Christianity movement. But most believers in Yeshua as Messiah don't believe that they should follow Torah. So the house of Jacob is divided today because most of the literal house of Jacob don't believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, and most of those who believe he's the Messiah don't believe that they should express their faith in him by following Torah. So how's this problem got to be resolved? It's prophetically given to Elijah. It's the ministry of Elijah that brings everything together. Matthew chapter 17, verses 10 through 13, Yeshua was asked, why is there a teaching that Elijah precedes the coming of the Messiah? Yeshua answered and said, Elijah truly shall first come and restore all things. Notice he's saying he will come in the future. Notice what he does. He restores. Do you know you restore something that originally was, but something happened to it, but then you bring it back to how it was? How was it originally with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and those who were redeemed out of Egypt? They were given commandments at Mount Sinai. How is it now? Well, believers in Yeshua are not taught that they should follow Torah. But Elijah's got to come and bring the message of restoration. And when is he got to come? Right before Messiah's second coming. And so I'd like to submit to you, the ministry of Elijah is in the earth today. There is a voice being proclaimed in the earth today that believers in Yeshua should express their faith in him by following Torah, because he is the lawgiver. And what we call those who are believing and understanding this, we call it the Hebraic roots of Christianity movement, or the Messianic movement. And this is a sign that Messiah is about to come and regather the exiles of Israel. But Yeshua spoke about his first coming and said that Elijah is come already. That is John the Baptist, who came in the spirit and the power of Elijah. Luke chapter 1, verse 17. But what is the ministry message of Elijah in the end of days? Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I send you Elijah the prophet before the coming and great and dreadful day of the Lord. What do we call the coming and great and dreadful day of the Lord? The tribulation period. But notice Elijah's got to come before the tribulation period. And what's his message? His message is in Malachi 4:4. Remember the Torah of Moses. Elijah's got to proclaim, remember the Torah of Moses, and he's got to do it before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. This message, or this aspect of what you're hearing so far in this presentation, is an Elijah ministry message. So the house of Jacob will be restored and united. And the prophecy is in Ezekiel 37, verse 16. Son of man, take one stick and write upon it. Now, you see the word stick? In the Hebrew, the word is eitz. And you know what the word eitz means in Hebrew? Tree. So the prophecy is take one tree and write upon it for Judah, for the children of Israel, his companions. But take another stick or tree and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and all the house of Israel, his companions. So he's to take two trees. Anyone have an idea what kind of a tree this is? It's an olive tree. And he says, join them one and make them one tree, or one olive tree, and they will become one in your hand. When this happens, the return of the exiles back to the land of Israel, the prophetic place, or this is one of the prophetic places, because it's just not here, but this is the major place where the return will be, is found in Ezekiel 37, verse 22. I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. One nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. You know what the Western world and CNN calls the mountains of Israel? The West Bank. I want you to notice where the prophesied return of the exiles of Israel is to be. This is not the only place, but the main place. It's the mountains of Israel. And so in order for them to return, there has to be a law of return. The law of return is what the prophet said, what was prophesied in the Scriptures. You know what has been so far the stumbling block of the creation of a PLO state? why Yasser Arafat did not agree to a PLO state in 1999 when he met at Camp David with Ehud Barak, the then Prime Minister of Israel, and President Bill Clinton, the President of the United States at the time, is because there wasn't an agreement on the right of return that held up a PLO state. You see, what's got to happen is the nations of the world ultimately, and the nation of Israel, will agree on the right of return of the Palestinians to solve the problem in the Middle East. And you know, after the nations of the world agree to their right of return, which they never have a right of return, then he's got to be knocking on the door of the nations of the world and says, you know, it's time after 2,700 years for my people to return home. They've been exiled too long. Will you acknowledge their right of return? And you know what Pharaoh's got to say? A right of return? Your people being exiled? No, I don't acknowledge that. People that believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, that believe in the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has got to go back to the Middle East? No, you're making the problems worse. We're not going to let you out of the country. If you want out of the country, you're going to have to get our permission. We won't let you go. So you know what the God of Israel says to Pharaoh when he says, let me introduce to you who I am, and I'll show you my signs, wonders, and miracles, and you will let them go. And so that's what's about to come. So once again, the prophecy in Ezekiel 37, verse 24, David, my servant, will be king over them. That is a term for the Messiah. He's the son of David. They will have one shepherd. You see, how does Judaism refer or liken the God of Israel? How do they see him? He's the king of the universe. And what's the main identity in Christianity of Yeshua? Well, he's the good shepherd. He carries the lamb. And so it says here, they'll have one king, one shepherd. They will walk in my judgments, observe my statutes, and do them. That is to follow Torah. So the end of days, the ultimate end result of the events of the end of days, has the purpose of fulfilling why Yeshua died on the tree, which is to gather the exiles of Israel. And so in order that you don't have the impression in your mind that these prophecies are about them, I have shared so far in detail the role of Yeshua to die on the tree to gather the exiles of Israel, the New Testament scriptures that relate and pertain to it, because I want you to understand these prophecies are about you. It's not about them. You see, if I give this presentation and you leave thinking that these prophecies are about them, I might as well go home right now. It's to get you to understand that Messiah is redeeming you. He has already redeemed you, redeemed your soul, that you can spend eternity with him. But the people on the earth who are living in the earth, who are a part of the last generation, are also going to be called to physically return as a part of the prophecies of the ingathering of the exiles. And that is what you need to understand. And so next what I want to explain is the eschatology of those events happening. And in order to understand that eschatology, you need to understand the 7,000-year plan of God. Because